Hi everybody, Mrs. Weiss here. Today we're going to be working on the cellular respiration notes in our packet. So please make sure you have your chapter 4 ecology notes out. And we're going to start at the bottom of page 6, right where it says cellular respiration. So last week we talked about all the different consumers that there were. And then today we're going to just do a little recap of that as well as going into more detail about cellular respiration. So, last week we talked about what drives organisms' interactions in their environment. So, why do animals interact with one another? Why do animals interact with plants in the environment? And the whole point of that is to get energy. We need to consume food in order to gain energy. Now, when we talked about a heterotroph is just another word for a consumer. Remember, we're not writing anything down just yet, we're doing just a quick review. So, a heterotroph is an organism that cannot make its own food. It has to eat something in order to gain that energy. Again, that's just another word for consumer. So, if we look at these little guys, remember we talked about an herbivore. These guys are the only ones that are eating plants. We talked about carnivores. Carnivores are the meat eaters, they kill and eat other animals. We then have the omnivore. Those are things that eat both plants and animals, like bears and humans. We then have these lovely guys. These are scavengers. These are the ones that are eating animals that have already died. So they kind of wait till everybody's done and then they go in and pick at the remains of the dead animals. And finally, the last one we talked about was decomposers. They break down that dead and decaying material. So things like mushrooms and bacteria. So they break it down and they are actually absorbing all of those nutrients, and that's how they get their energy. So, after we eat all that food, what actually happens to it? So, that's what we're going to talk about with cellular respiration. So, please take a look at your paper. This is where we're going to start to write down our information. So, if you guys take a look, you see how I have these words highlighted in green? You're going to be writing that stuff down on your paper. So, a consumer, after we take in that food, it goes down into our stomach, it starts to digest and goes through our small intestine. And as it goes through our small intestine, that's where we're actually getting all of the energy from our food. So the food we eat has to be digested in order for us to actually get that energy. Now, when we digest that food, our food is also producing this raw molecules. Make sure you guys are writing down that to build bigger molecules like carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. So on your paper, you're also going to notice where it says carbohydrate, fat, and protein. Please write down just what I have here in green, okay? So for carbohydrates' main job is to be used to store energy. We're also going to write down an example of a carbohydrate, and that is actually sugar. So sugar can be found in things like obviously candies and all that kind of stuff, but also carbohydrates are found in pasta, in bread, and our body actually uses this type of sugar to actually break down for fast or for slow release of energy. So, when you're really hungry and you're cranky, you're going to grab a Snickers because that's going to give you that quick energy. But people who work out or people who are in track and field or swimmers or football players, they might have a pasta party the night before a big meet. They're going to eat all that pasta and then the next day it's going to take a while for all that stuff to break down. So the next day at their meet or their game, they'll have enough energy from all of those sugars breaking down over time. Another type of one of these big molecules is going to be fats. Now, there's different types of lipids. Those are just fats and they have different jobs. We're going to focus on the one that can be used for extra energy storage, okay? So we see this as storing fat in our bodies. So when we eat foods that have fats, if our body needs that energy right away, it can use it, but a lot of us store that extra that fat as an energy source. So if we are hungry, our body can start breaking that down. And finally, proteins. We see proteins in lots of things. Proteins are things like can be found in milk and meat and eggs and peanut butter. Protein has a really big job. It helps us with our structure. So our hair, skin, and nails is made up of a lot of protein. Our muscles is a big protein user. Our immune system defense. So this is kind of what helps keep us healthy. Hormones, signals, and enzymes. But again, just make sure you're writing down what's in green. Okay, so when we digest our food, our body is pulling out the proteins, the fats, and the carbohydrates because our body needs these things in order to function. Now, cellular respiration, what this actually means. So, again, you're writing down what is in green. The definition of cellular respiration is the process of breaking down glucose. Remember, glucose is a sugar. If you need to write that down next to glucose, make sure you do that. The process of breaking down sugar and other food molecules to release energy, and we're going to add into our body. We want that energy. Now, in order for this whole process to take place, in order for our bodies to actually get energy, it's not just as simple as us eating food. We also require oxygen to be present, and this is taking place in a structure called the mitochondria. That's this guy right here, and this organelle is actually in our cells. So this is happening in every single cell in our body. Now, cellular respiration's chemical equation is glucose and oxygen, gives us carbon dioxide, water, and energy. So these two things right here, glucose and oxygen, these are known as our reactants. And this is what goes in. So we are taking this in to our bodies. Again, underneath glucose, go ahead and write sugar. It's a good reminder for yourself. And then we are making carbon dioxide, water, and energy. So these are known as the products. And this is what's being used. Okay. So we're looking at C6H12O6. We're looking at what is it called? Where do consumers get this? So we're going to start with that first part. This C6H12O6 is a sugar. So on your paper, you're going to write that down. It is a sugar. And it comes from the digestive system. It comes from when we are breaking down our food. O2 or oxygen, this is from the breathing system. We breathe oxygen in, okay? You inhale. So you can also write that down. It's what we inhale. I inhale oxygen, so then I exhale carbon dioxide. So I inhale oxygen, and I get this from the air. When I exhale carbon dioxide, it's going back into the atmosphere, okay? Plants use this, okay? Remember, we talked about plants and animals having a very good relationship with one another. Plants give us oxygen, and we give them carbon dioxide. Okay, water. Water is also is considered a waste product. This is either going to be coming out of our bodies in the form of sweat or urine. So we use sweat as our own little AC cooling system for our bodies. As our body sweats, it actually cools us down. That's why we sweat. Think about when you're hot or if you're working out, you're going to start to sweat more, and that's to help cool your body down. Urine, that's just our waste product that we release. And finally, energy. Good old energy. What is this used for? To keep our bodies going. Okay, it allows for us to have movement. It allows for us to be active and be able to have just all of those normal body functions. So again, we have to take in sugar, C6H12O6. Again, this is just some type of food, whatever food that might be. We need to breathe oxygen. And when we do that, we're going to exhale carbon dioxide. We're either going to sweat out or urinate out water, and then we are going to be making energy, and that is for our body to use. So our body has to go through this entire process in order to form energy. All right, if you guys have any questions, make sure you are rewinding and rewatching if you need to.